My name is Jess Servion, and I'm super excited to bring you my new podcast, The Juice with Jess. This podcast is going to be about everything in your customer's journey. We're talking acquisition, awareness, making that purchase, retaining that customer, bringing them back around, and everything in between. This is going to be all about delivering dope brand experiences and talking to some really amazing people who are in the customer experience space, the marketing space, and everything in between. Welcome back to another episode of The Juice with me, Jess. I am your host, and I am joined this week with Michael from Hexclad. He is the head of customer service. Michael, tell the audience who you be, dog.
Well, thank you for the introduction. I'm Michael from Hexclad, and I've been with Hexclad for coming on 2 years now. Prior to Hexclad, I was at a direct response marketing company. Prior to that, I was at Hulu and Toyota. All companies have absolutely nothing to do with one another, which is interesting.
As it goes.
But all of them had a focus in customer experience and customer support and put an emphasis on that. And I really get behind organizations that put value in delivering great experiences for our customers. And so it was a natural progression for me to move over to Hexclad as we grew the organization.
Yeah, I think you have a really awesome path because we're very similar in that sense of like I came from B2B and then all of a sudden I'm in e-com, but like really and worked at Feastables, right? Like a Feastable and started Feastables is customer experience. But I think what's really awesome about our past is like we worked for these organizations that cared so much about customer experience that helped shape our careers to be able to deliver these really dope customer service moments in these e-commerce brands. And I think it's really underrated. Like I think people don't realize like I think a lot of times like e-com customer service or experience, like a lot of people hire within that like the D2C world. But I think look at like, I'm not trying to like hype us up, but I am going to hype us up a little bit. I mean, like kind of look at us. Like we have these like crazy different backgrounds and then led, you know, these really awesome customer service departments, right? Like, and like at the core of who we are is that customer experience. And I think that's just really fucking dope. Yeah,
it was interesting because I didn't know a single thing about the e-commerce space before coming to Hexclad. And I've really, really enjoyed it. But like at the core of it, like you mentioned, is our philosophy on delivering these great experiences. I remember when I was at Toyota, there was when they were starting to have some recall issues, they realized that they needed a social media presence. And so they took me from the customer service side. They saw I had a media background and they put me in there and there was nothing written. There was no playbook for us to deliver a great experience. And so I took that freedom and created just different ways that we could engage with our customers. And I remember this one specifically where I had a customer, a Lexus owner, that had checked in on Foursquare when that was a thing at a Starbucks.
Foursquare. Oh my God.
At a Starbucks location. And I had made this Twitter list, a private Twitter list of all Lexus owners that I had engaged with in the past. He checked in at Starbucks. I was like, how can I make this experience even better for him? And so I quickly called that Starbucks location, said, hey, you should have a male walking in. He looks like he's in his 30s to 40s. He has this color hair. His name is Kier. And I remember, like, at that time, they were writing the names on the cups of coffee.
Yeah.
And I said, his name's Kier. This is going to sound strange, but I'd like to give you my Starbucks Gold Card number, and I'd like to buy his cup of coffee for him. And just let him know that we at Lexus appreciate him as an owner. And not even 10 minutes later, I see this tweet that comes out that says, oh my God, my car company just bought my cup of coffee. Mm-hmm. I will own nothing but Lexuses from here on out. And that got retweeted. He sent it to his followers, obviously. He had about, I want to say 2,400 followers at that time. He tweeted it. One of the bloggers that we had engaged with in the past, that was also a Lexus owner, saw it, retweeted it. So at the end of the day, this literal $3 cup of coffee garnered around 25,000 impressions.
Yeah.
And it's just the simple things. It's like the natural things that you want to do to just make someone's experience that much better.
No, absolutely. I mean, it doesn't matter like what type of company you're in, right? You could be a luxury brand, you could be a snack brand, whatever it is, right? Like making your customers feel special is so important into their service and their experience journey. You
100%.
know, yesterday, because I'm in LA right now, right? I don't naturally live here, nor do I live in Chicago half the time. But yesterday I was at Erewhon. Right. Yep. And I've been like really obsessed with Erewhon lately, like while here. And I think it's like, it's a whole social thing.
Yep,
it honestly is. And I get it. It's like really expensive, all this stuff, right? And it like pains you inside to like spend the amount of money that you do on a smoothie. But I go and I spend that money on the smoothie, right? Because I want to experience it, right? So this really dope thing happened though. So the parking lot at the location that we were at was really small. So we had to go and park and like block a car, and then you have to leave your car with the parking lot attendant, right? Honestly, not really even a big hassle. Like, okay, completely understand. Like, I'm from customer experience. I get it, right? Yep. So we're in the store. We get the things. We like even like grab food. We're sitting there for a while, whatever, right? And eating food. And then we come back to the car and there's snacks in the car. There's like a snack pack and 2 drinks and like some lip balms, right? And like brands that like I've never heard of, but I thought that one, that was a dope sampling opportunity for those brands. 2, because you go to the store and you're spending so much money, every single detail of that store is so on point, including the fact that if they have to move your car and it's an inconvenience to you, here's some snacks on us because we're a grocery store.
Love it.
That is a dope customer experience. Yep. That is like the smallest thing. And like now, like granted, again, all right, Erewhon is very expensive, right? Yep. But now if I'm thinking about the experience that I had, like there was no piece of that experience that was terrible.
Right.
Is the point.
Exactly. And you know, they made you feel appreciated and valued as a consumer and a customer.
Yeah.
And made you think about this experience that you probably wouldn't have thought about otherwise, right? You mentioned that you didn't have any hesitation in leaving your keys with this attendant, right? Yeah. And they created this experience for you that if they didn't create this experience, you would have never even thought about them possibly moving your car. Maybe they did move your car and you wouldn't have any concern with that. But also they're now just creating this experience where you're like, hey, they went above and beyond for me. And I love that because I'm a firm believer in, like, you might not think about that smoothie again. Yeah. Like, you might think about, like, the damage it did on your pocketbook.
Oh, absolutely.
But the thing that you're going to remember is that experience that you had with the parking lot. Yeah. And it's going to make you be like, hey, if I'm going to be in LA again,
I'm going to go to Erewhon.
I'm going to go. Exactly.
And I did post it online. I actually did post it on LinkedIn. In the thread of I'm back at Erewhon again, but whatever. I think it's the little things, and it doesn't matter if you're like a luxury brand or you're, non-luxury type of, like, I don't know, a diaper brand, right? Like it doesn't matter. I think it's really important to take care of your customers and like make them feel surprised and delighted sometimes, because those things will go a long way. And especially if they end up on social media and the amount of impressions that can generate for your company.
Right. And The other thing that a lot of organizations sometimes don't take the time to think about is that every touch point that you have with a customer is important.
Absolutely.
Right? And Erewhon's taken the time to think about, hey, this parking lot attendant is a touch point.
Absolutely.
Right? And so whenever you have those opportunities, we should be thinking about how do we make this experience that much better?
Yeah.
So I love that story.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's switch gears a little bit. I mean, the man, the myth, the legend who leads customer experience at Hexclad. And for anybody who doesn't know what Hexclad is, actually, why don't we just start there? What is Hexclad?
So Hexclad started as a hybrid cookware company. We have a pretty unique product that infuses the best of nonstick cookware with stainless steel. And it's a amazing product that at the end of the day, we want our guests, our consumers to feel like they can do anything in the kitchen with their cookware. We want to empower the consumer to get creative, to use our cookware. Like, yes, it's pretty, but at the end of the day, we design our cookware so that it gets used.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's a rather unique product.
Yeah, it's a beautiful product. I am very grateful to have Hexclad knife and pan. So going back into your experience, right, and like just leading like customer service, customer experience, like how has like your social media background from previously informed your CX strategy at Hexclad?
Oh, I love that question. So for me, we talked about this earlier, but what I really gained in social media was the knowledge and understanding that 90% of what you do on social media should be focused on listening, right? That other 10% is engagement and responding to. Because if you're not listening to what your consumers are saying, then you're failing. You're not bringing that information back to the organization and empowering decisions based off of how your consumer's using your product. And so at Hexclad, one of the things that was most important to me when I came into Hexclad was how do we organize this data from our consumers and build it in a digestible manner that anyone within our organization can access, right? And so a lot of what I did in the first year I was at Hexclad was thinking about what is the best back-end structure to collect this data, what is the best way to receive this data, and then what is the best way that I can report this data out back to the organization. At every one of those touch points, I think about who my consumer is, right? So when a customer reaches out to support, obviously it's that end user. When it's my product team asking me for feedback on a specific product, my consumer is my product team now. And so how do I get this information back to my consumer in a way that is easy for them, that there's no speed bumps or blockers in preventing me getting the answers to them. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Absolutely. I think, I think what's really interesting is that in a lot of like, I see this a lot, like a lot of like CX support service leaders don't really like look at social. Like they do, but like it's also lives in a different department, right?
Yep.
And I think that channel is so important from like a feedback perspective, and to quantitate it and qualitate it, right? And add it into like a feedback report, right? So it does make sense. It absolutely makes sense. And I think that like we can deep dive in it. There's so many tools out there, but there's so many different ways of doing it. It's also like none of it is clean. It is so not clean.
Yep.
But the data from all of these channels, not just the people coming to you, but the people that are outside of you that are like on Twitter or in TikTok and these other places are so important, because those people who are the loudest are not going to always come and write into customer support.
Correct.
You know? And so like gathering that data and being very data focused is so important.
Yep.
In a feedback loop, you know?
Yeah. One of the other things that we did was we prioritized social media. Social media isn't going away.
Right.
Right. And so at Hexclad, we have our traditional contact channels, email, form, SMS, but then we also have social media, right? And we have a social media marketing team, but we also have a dedicated social support team. Mm-hmm. And we try and, while we may not monitor all of our social feeds on our dedicated help desk platform, anything that ultimately impacts the customer from a product perspective gets funneled back into our help desk, so that we have this closed loop system on being able to accurately report data back to the organization.
Right. Absolutely. I think, honestly, we can't even stress it enough. Like feedback loops are just so important to like bring back into the rest of the company. Feastables was the same way. I had to invest in a lot of tools, and we talked about it, but I like to be a little tool agnostic around here. Yep. But I had like certain tools that I utilized for listening, for like keywords, like all of these things, right? And would add like that information on a weekly basis into my feedback report, and I just think it's so valuable. I'm really curious, because not every social review or comment is positive, right? How do y'all deal with like bad reviews that you might see on TikTok that never end up in your, like, not even just on a feedback loop perspective, but from a support perspective? Like, what does that look like?
So the way that we've structured Hexclad is our social support team and our social support manager is classified, or the things that they look at is just not necessarily your traditional social channels. Twitter, or do I call them X now?
Yeah. My phone just updated and forced me to update. Now it says X. It comes up on my notifications as X, and I'm like, who's X?
Weird, right?
Yeah.
Twitter, Facebook, community pages. But I think of it as any channel that is a one-to-many communication channel that includes our review sites, our native review sites, our external review sites, Better Business Bureau, all of these different review platforms. That is the responsibility of our social media team. And the way that I think about it is our social media team is a dedicated team that is trained to be able to speak publicly on behalf of our organization.
Right.
Most of our support team, or most of traditional support team, is trained to speak one-to-one. Very few of our support team members are trained to speak one-to-many. And so just like our traditional contact channels, all review channels are also pulled in to our back-end system. And we will make every attempt to identify a customer on a review. We'll reach out on those review platforms to try and identify a customer and tie that customer to either a purchase, be it on Shopify or our e-commerce site, or through a retail channel. We sell at Costco, on Amazon. Traditionally, those don't come into our help desk, but with different tools, we can pull that in and get it part of that, get it included into that feedback loop. At the end of the day, we want to service our customers where they're at.
Absolutely. Ding, ding, ding. Where they're at. Meet your customer where they are, because if you are channel switching your customer, you are creating a frictioned experience.
100%.
Ding, ding. One more time.
Yeah. And then also, we look at each channel and we look at those friction points and say, what is a friction point in this channel for our consumer, and how do we take that friction point away?
Yeah.
Back at the start of Black Friday last year, we changed our contact channel because personally I was tired of seeing all these fields that a customer had to fill out.
Yeah.
And so we changed the way that a customer reached out to us on our website to make it less obtrusive, less intimidating, and
that's interesting.
A more pleasant experience for our customer.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, what it allowed our customer to do is actually provide more information because they felt comfortable on the platform. And because they're providing more information and richer information, our support agents were able to better understand the customer concern and resolve it quicker.
Yes.
And a concern that's resolved quicker is typically a happier customer.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you hit on another point, right? So going back to what we were talking about, meeting your customer in those channels, also, making that experience frictionless on the outward customer, right, is really important, as well as even for the agent experience, because you can get to a point where you're given too much information.
Yep.
You need the necessary information, and that's about it. So I, just commendable. I think it's thinking about it in both as an outward customer and as well as an internal customer. I also want to go back to what you were saying about social support versus customer support and different kind of skill sets. You as a customer experience leader, okay? How do you navigate that? How do you find, so you have a team of people, right? And it doesn't necessarily have to be Hexclad. It could be Lexus, it could be anyone, right? You have a team of people. How do you pick, you're really good at this skill and you're not so great at this skill, but let me get you into maybe doing something else, right? How do you as a leader just can see that? Hard question.
It is a hard question because I don't think there's a good answer to it.
Yeah, I agree with you.
One of the things that I identified while I was at Hulu was that it is much harder to find a good social support agent than it is to find a good general agent.
Really?
Yes.
I would think the opposite for me.
No, for me, one of the things that I look at is for a support agent is their ability to recognize the impact of word choice when responding to a customer. Because you got to remember, they're not just responding to the customer, they're responding to any other person looking at that tweet, at that post, at that review. And so I want to find a support agent that understands the impact of word choice. And so sometimes there are customers that will leave a review of our product and try and, bash the brand, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And it's important for our agents to provide enough information, but not too much information. But to show other people, besides just the customer that's leaving the review, the work that we've done on the back end at the same time.
Yeah.
Right? And so there are times where we'll respond to a customer and say, hey, we're sorry that the goodwill assistance that we provided outside of warranty did not meet your expectation.
Yeah.
And thinking about that, anyone reading into that, they are now empowered with a lot of information that they didn't know about before. Hey, this brand provided assistance that they weren't obligated to provide because they were outside of warranty.
Yeah.
And it's the customer's expectations that weren't matched in that case, right? This brand provided assistance when they didn't have to, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that, in my opinion, is a lot harder to find than someone that is going to follow policies and procedures like they're black and white.
Yeah. Okay.
Does that make sense?
That point actually makes absolute sense.
So we would have job roles open sometimes for 2-3 months because while these candidates were great at customer service and support, they weren't necessarily understanding the importance of a brand's impact that they can make externally on these social sites.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. Like, I actually take back what I was saying. Like, really, like, I think I'm the opposite because you're absolutely right. Because now if I'm thinking back to, just hiring at like Feastables, but also hiring at like some of the other like firms that I have or companies that I've worked for previously, like you can find really good support people, but those support of like following the rules and like doing these things doesn't translate well to like social channels. Social channels are like a different game.
Yep.
We've had a couple of like copywriters on the podcast, and like it's so, copy is very about like the brand voice and the brand feels and the wants, and like that social support person needs to really understand that and like the outward effects of that.
Yep. One of the hardest things that I try and instill in each one of our customer support agents' mind is how would you talk differently to our customer if you knew who this customer was, right? If they were your best friend, would you approach this differently?
Yeah.
Right? If they were your mother, if they were your brother, would you approach this differently?
Yeah.
We at Hexclad have different partnerships that we do with different brands. And we, as part of those partnerships, sometimes do giveaways, right? And our marketing
love a giveaway. We love a spectacle marketing moment.
I went up to our marketing team and said, hey, for any of these collaborations that we do with these different brands, are there any extra products that we on the customer service team can use to surprise and delight our customers, right? Let's say we have a 6-time purchaser that has a huge LTV, and we recognize that we take care of the customer's concern. Is there a product that we could send them on behalf of our company as well as our brand partnership and just say, hey, we appreciate you as a customer.
Yeah.
Thank you for giving us this opportunity to resolve your concern.
Yes.
Right. And so one of the hardest things that I've ran into is not getting product. That's not typically an issue. It's getting the support agent to recognize here's an opportunity that I have to go above and beyond.
Yes.
Right. When I was at Guthrie Ranker previous to Hexclad, we did this challenge called the Golden Pitcher Challenge. And we saw every time a customer would reach out to us, we saw that almost as an opportunity to win back the customer or engage the customer. Because if a customer's reaching out to you, they're giving you an opportunity to do something, right? And so what the challenge was we would encourage our agent to think about what the customer wrote into us about and say, how can I pitch a sales opportunity, or how can I pitch this opportunity to a customer so that they understand that this offer is customized to them.
Yeah.
Right. And so at the end of every month, we would a support agent would be able to submit their pitch that they made to the customer, whether the customer accepted it or not. And we would share this with all the other support agents and say, hey, vote on your favorite pitch that was made. And based off of those, based off of who had the most selected pitches, we would reward them and just say, hey, thank you for customizing your pitch. Thank you for going above and beyond for the customer.
Yeah.
And it was literally a beer pitcher that had a trophy of a baseball pitcher inside of it, and we stuffed it with candy and gift cards and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it would rotate around from different agents to agents.
Yeah, that's amazing. Fun. I love that. And I love that you also incentivize the pitching, like being involved in it, and that creates brand obsession, you know?
And one of the projects that I'm working on right now is how do we get more support agents to recognize these opportunities to go above and beyond? And how do we document those to really truly understand the impact that they're making to our consumer?
Right.
And so it's hard sometimes. Like if I gave you $200 and say go spend it, it'd be pretty easy, right?
Right.
But it's hard sometimes to get an agent that is so focused on sometimes policies and procedures to think about how can I step aside and just do something different, make this experience better.
Right.
I think so many of our support agents have been instilled to think you have to follow these procedures. I haven't met a single human that operates that way. I haven't met someone that says, I operate this same exact way each and every time.
I mean, yes, but no. Like, I have met a lot of BPO operations that are
Absolutely.
Like that. And I always find it in BPO operations because it's like a third party outside of your brand. So they are so fearful of not doing something right.
100%.
And it's actually something I really struggled with at Feastables, because Feastables at the beginning of creating Feastables, right? Like we didn't know our customer. We had to make so many pivots along the way. And so I had an external team and I had an internal team helping, and the external team was lovely. They were amazing. Everybody gave it their all. It was really awesome. But it was trying to teach them that surprise and delight element was a struggle. Trying to just even empower them to be hey, you can do these things. You have free reign. And I finally had to just be listen, if it's $50, just do it.
Right.
Give me a receipt.
Return windows.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh God.
There are some BPOs or some support agents that are so afraid of breaking policy that they don't recognize, okay, this customer is 5-10 days outside of their return window, but this is their 6th, 7th order, right? How do we go above and beyond to recognize, hey, sometimes life gets in the way and I couldn't return this within the return window.
Right. Oh man, I actually had dude, we're talking about this because here we go, right? I actually had a really terrible experience, and I'm not going to name this brand, but put it this way, a luggage brand, okay? And most of these luggage e-commerce, D2C, whatever, I know I'm repeating myself, but most of these luggage brands that are coming out on the market that aren't a Tumi or something high luxury, right? Still have lifetime warranties or whatever it is. So I have this one particular carry-on bag that I've had for years, okay? And I'm obsessed with it. I took this bag everywhere I've ever been. It has been Japan and Australia and all these places, and it has always I've never had to check a bag because it's got enough room for my 2-week adventures, right? So I'm very attached to it, I will say. Okay. Right. Anyway, so it was time for me to get it repaired. It's time. The handle's not. It's not working. My wheels are like kind of lopsided. The little like compression bar on the inside is like broken. Okay. So anyway, I finally was like, all right, brought myself to be like, I'm going to have to detach from the suitcase and get a new one. So I reach out to the company and I reach out. Reach out. I'm on a chatbot because I'm a chatbot queen. Hey, chatbot. Hey, support agent, like explain the situation. I was like, oh, I'm like, I have this one. It's in this color. And they're like, oh, well, we don't have that one in that color anymore. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm down to replace it. I'm already having a really hard time, like coming to the realization of I'm going to have to replace it. And I was like, can I pay that? So I wanted this one that was black, but my fiance has the same one. So I wanted to personalize it, right?
Yep.
I wanted to like put my logo on it or my initials just so we could distinguish who's whose, right? Yep. And I had no problem with paying for it, like at all. And so then I was like, hey, yeah, okay, I'll just take the black one. Like, that's fine. And I was honest. I was like, I'm really disappointed that like you don't have this like hunter green anymore. I know I'm being a difficult customer. Okay. But just stick with me here, crowd. Okay. So anyway, so I was like, okay, I'll take the black. Like, it's fine. Like, can I personalize it and pay the extra money? And they're like, no, you can't personalize it. And I was like, well, can you escalate this? Cause like, I'm literally asking to pay for it. Yep. Like I can literally go buy a brand new one and personalize it. And they're like, yeah, we'll escalate it. 2 days later, they're like, nope, can't do it. Sorry. Like toodles. And I'm like, listen, now I don't like that company.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to go get another one from another company just because I had a shitty experience, right? And like my point of telling you the story though is because it's like when you have people in the org that like just can't break the rules or they can't like, or it's not even like them personally, it's empowerment to your team to be able to understand that like you can like exceed a policy for satisfaction. Yep.
We, the thing that disappoints me the most about your story is that support agent or the possibly many support agents that, worked on the back end of your ticket didn't think about is all the memories you have of using that suitcase and all those trips that you went on using that suitcase.
Yeah.
And now, instead of these amazing memories that you have on each one of those trips, you now have each one of these trips tainted with a suitcase experience. One suitcase experience that's now tainting multiple trips that you went on.
Yeah, I know.
Because you now have resentment.
I know. And listen, I'm looking at the camera for any of you watching, okay? I absolutely know I am being a difficult customer, okay? Absolutely. But like, come on, man.
But you're not. You're being a human.
Yeah.
Right?
But that's how customers are,
I have a similar situation to yours where it involves a luggage company. And my wife and I tried for many years to try and conceive a child. Mm. And we go through IVF. First round doesn't take. Second round takes, thankfully. And we're blessed with this beautiful baby, right? And as a new parent, you don't know what to purchase, right? And so we probably went through 3 different diaper bags before we found the perfect diaper bag for us. And we loved this diaper bag. And then the handle on the top of the diaper bag ripped off. And there were some other tears. And we reached out to, first we went to their website to see if they still had them. They still made them. However, they were out of stock. Mm-hmm. And you could sign up for in-stock notifications. Mm-hmm. So my wife reaches out to their support team, and their support team said, hey, that shouldn't be happening. We're sorry that it happened. It's out of stock right now. but we're going to give you a discount code for the full value of that diaper bag for what you paid. Actually, just for the full value of the diaper bag.
Yeah.
They didn't even take into account any discounts that you might have received or whatnot.
Yeah.
But the thing that I love, like, yes, we were a little annoyed that it was out of stock and they couldn't do anything to get us a diaper bag in time. We lived with it for about a month before it came back in stock.
Yeah.
But the thing I love about that experience is that, let's say they provided you a gift card for your luggage.
Yeah.
You could apply that gift card to that replacement luggage piece and then pay the difference for the customization.
I mean, straight up, I would have gone to the store and just had an in-store experience to experience a new one, to like find my new attachment to it. Let's be real, right? But yeah, no, man, like, okay, wait. Since we're talking about good experience, I want to, like, this is a super brief one, right? And I will name drop on good ones, not on bad ones, but Jolie, the shower head company.
Okay.
So when I moved into a new apartment, I really wanted to get like a filtered water system. Like, I was in Chicago, like the water's very harsh. So like I wanted to really just start fresh, right? So I bought the Jolie for the apartment for my shower, but it didn't actually fit. And so I contacted them and I was like, oh, fuck, I'm going to have to email in. I was like not looking forward. I was putting it off, I was like, oh God. So one Sunday I like chat in and they say their support hours are like Monday through Friday, right? But I ended up getting a response back like on a Sunday afternoon. I was like, so that's a nice surprise and delight in my journey, right? Like that's really dope. And no questions asked. I said, hey, this doesn't work. Can I like return it? And they were like, oh, you know what? Don't even worry about it. Keep it. Give it to a friend. I've already credited you back. And I mean, like this product is like over $100, right? So I was like, that's so sick. Like I can't use this. So then the next day I went to work and I brought it to my homegirl who was also moving into a new apartment. And I was like, shout out to you, Laura. I was like, Laura, here's a new Jolie like a shower head. And so what that experience created, not only was it like surprise and delight by your hours of operation, which I understand not everybody can do that, but like that was a surprise and delight for me.
Yep.
Surprise and delight that I just like no questions asked, got a refund, and then created a word of mouth. Like, and I know not every policy is that way, but if you think about it in a journey manner of like what my customer is experiencing, even in a bad experience, you can turn it around.
100%. I had this experience and it was with mixed tiles, since we're name dropping.
Yeah, we can name drop on good ones.
And this experience was Mixed Tiles offers these. You can upload your photos. They'll print them out and frame them for you, stick them on the wall. We ordered a set, absolutely loved them. I realized that I could have ordered it differently and ordered them cheaper. And because we loved them so much, we were about to order some more. And so I opened up a support ticket because I love opening up support tickets, being in customer support myself.
As we do, yeah.
I opened up a support ticket and just say, hey guys, like we love our product. And I was a little disappointed to find out that I could have ordered this with a discount, like a different way, and it would have been cheaper. And they initially came back to me and said, no, you couldn't have ordered it that way and got it cheaper. And then I sent them a screenshot showing, like, here's my card, like, here's the receipts.
Yeah.
And I said, we're going to order more. So if you want to just credit me the difference in a gift card or a coupon code for $30, I think it was, I'd be satisfied with that. They came back and said, here's a discount code for $25 off.
Yeah.
And I initially was like, I don't like this experience. We still ordered. I got my CSAT survey. I rated it a 2-star.
Okay.
Because we like the product, just the experience.
Yeah.
I got a response within, I would say, 30 minutes and saying like, hey, we saw your feedback that you left, went through the entire tickets and the conversation that you've had with our team. we are so sorry. Like, you're absolutely right. This could have been ordered a different way, and we should have handled this differently.
Yeah.
We want you to keep the $25. We've gone ahead and issued you a refund for your entire purchase amount.
Yeah.
Of your first order. Use that discount code that you got on your next purchase.
Wow.
And I don't know if I would have been as impacted if I wasn't working in customer service, but I found it. I loved the experience because it showed me that they valued my feedback that I provided them. Right. They said, here's a 2-star customer, like not an extreme 1-star or 0-star customer. Here's a 2-star customer. Let me see what feedback they left. Let me review it. Could we have improved this experience?
Yeah.
And they recognized that they could have. And from that point forward, like, I talk about mixed tiles because I've had nothing but great experiences with them. It's made me forget about that slightly negative experience.
Yeah, I know.
I love it.
You can turn a frown upside down, man. Yep. Like, that's literally our jobs, right?
We've instilled that type of thinking in Hexclad as well. So, like, after that experience, I made it a point that our managers review CSAT feedback.
Yeah.
Anytime it's a 1, 2, or 3-star feedback.
Yeah.
Right. We celebrate the 4 and 5 stars with our agents. We, to your point, for luggage, like, or for the shower head at Hexclad, if we see a customer that has a concern with a pan, and we know that there's nothing we can do with that pan, but it's a warrantable concern, we'll tell the customer, just recycle it locally, and we'll send them a replacement pan. Right? Why inconvenience the customer if we're not going to do anything with that pan anyways? Yeah. Right?
We're coming up on time, and I honestly really want to keep talking about this stuff. So actually, for anybody who's listening, I encourage you, reach out to me and Michael and share a story. Because on that note, Michael, where can they find you?
You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm active there.
Very active.
I'm on Twitter, everywhere, Facebook. Yeah. Look for me and you'll find me.
Like a true CXer. Yeah, reach out to us. Share your good experiences and your bad experiences. And if you're interested in chatting with Michael more, reach out to him as well. And on that note, thank you for joining me for another week of The Juice. And we'll see you next week. Hey, wow, you made it to the end of the episode. That means that you like me and I like you, which also means you should subscribe to this show.